Today we're gonna make the model fly and create realistic fog effects. Hey there, my name is Ali. You can find me on Instagram at the screen in front of you. And today we're gonna make that lady fly in this room and add some amazing fog effects. Okay, I'll start by pulling the room. These photos, you can find them in the description. You can download them and follow along with us. Okay. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out the lady. I'm gonna use the pen tool. And basically I'm just gonna like zoom in and just keep adding points all around her until I'm done with it. So I'm gonna speed up this like process. Okay, now since we're done with like our points, I'm gonna press right click, make selection, feather it by zero point 0.5 pixels, press OK, then add layer mask. Now we masked her out. I need to get rid of this white area. I'll use my magic wand and just click on that white, and on the layer mask I'm gonna paint black by Alt backspace. Okay, now we still have some problems with the hair, so we're gonna press right click on our layer mask and then select and mask. It will open the refine edge like area. I'm gonna use the second one here, and I'm just gonna refine the edge. This is an automatic way, like the Photoshop automatically detects where the edges are, and it will like remove the white and leave the red. Okay, now it's looking good. Okay, now we have our model here flying, and then we have the background. We need now to start like blending them together and color grading everything. I'll start with the background. It's a little bit like bluish. I want it to be yellowish, so I'm gonna add a curves adjustment layer, link it below, go to my blue channel. I'll add some red in the shadows. We have a lot of yellow in the shadows. And then I'm gonna go to the red channel. I'm gonna add some red to the shadows and maybe some red to the highlights also. Okay, now let's for a bit forget about the model. Now I wanna like add fog through the windows. I'll add it using two ways. The first one is by creating a new layer, taking some sort of a gray color and just using any cloud brush. I have one here with a low opacity and just like drawing some, I'll even lower the opacity more, just drawing some fog like that coming from the window, and then adding a layer mask, and with black will erase. You start erasing it again with the same brush. So now we have some sort of variety. This is the way you see we have now our fog here. Another way, I'm gonna just add a new layer and just draw with my lasso tool, something like that. Press shift to add something like that. Then I'm just gonna paint with a gray color, alt backspace. Now I did something like that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'll just increase the radius till we get rid of like the sharp edges. Then I'm gonna add a layer mask, and then I'm gonna go to filter, render, clouds. This will automatically render clouds. This is now how it looks like. So I can open the link and press Ctrl T on the mask itself and increase its size. This will increase the size of like the mask itself, the parts deleted. Like without zooming out, I can just click that link and just increase its size from here. Now I'm like increasing it. And maybe I can press OK now. And I'll just reduce its opacity. This is another way to add fog. So I'll leave both of them. I like the first one more, this one. Okay, now we have both of them here. I'm gonna merge them by pressing Ctrl E. Then I'll reduce the opacity of both of them together. Now we have some sort of like light coming from the window. Now I want to give that light some color. So I'm gonna add a hue and saturation layer. Make sure it's linked on top of it. Then I'm gonna press on colorize. You see now if I increase the opacity, it's red, it's green, it's blue. So I'm just gonna go with orange, some yellowish orange somewhere here. Yeah, like that. I'm just gonna like make it a little bit darker, and I will not use like very strong colors, something very settled, like 30%. Okay, now let's see what that did. It darkened it a little bit and it added some orange tint to it. Okay, now let's bring back our model. One thing I don't like about this model, she doesn't look flying because her feet are like up straight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Ctrl J. I'm making now a duplicate just in case we messed up anything. We have another copy of it. Okay, now I'm gonna rasterize this one. Right click, rasterize. Then I'm gonna press right click, apply layer mask. Now we have it on one layer. Then I'm gonna use my lasso tool and I'll just gonna select her leg. And then I'm gonna press right click, layer via cut. Now we separated like the feet on a separate layer. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Ctrl and T. Then I'm gonna press right click, warp. And on the warp tool, I'm just gonna move her feet. Or wait, I'll do it in another way. I'll press Ctrl T, hold Alt, and move this point here. And then I'm just gonna rotate it a little bit first. Something like that. Then I'm gonna press Ctrl T, go to the warp tool now. And just make sure like you don't stretch it out or anything so it looks natural. Okay, something like that. Now the problem is we have a little bit of like edges and something like that. So I'm just gonna move it like this, and with a very soft eraser, a very soft one, I'll just very softly erase the hard edge. Okay, now her legs look much better. I'm gonna click both of them, Ctrl E. Now we merged them again on a one layer. Okay, now I wanna like adjust her colors. I don't want her to have that red hair or that blue dress. So I'm gonna go with a hue and saturation. If I want to detect the red color, I'm just gonna press that hand. Make sure first it's linked to the model, then press that hand and click on that color. It will automatically detect the red here. Now I'm gonna bring the saturation down. Maybe I can change the color of it. No, I'll just leave it as it is, but I'm gonna darken it. Okay, something like that. Okay, if you notice what it's doing, it's also targeting the skin tones, and I don't want that. So after I like desaturate it, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Ctrl and I on the layer mask, then using white color and a hard brush with 100% opacity. Now whenever I paint white, I'll bring back the effect. So I'm just gonna paint white on her hair. Making sure I don't like touch her skin anywhere. Yes, and then I'm gonna just soften it a little bit so I can get these areas without having that like sharp edge. Okay, now we fixed the hair. Now let's do the same for the dress. I'm gonna go to hue saturation, link it, click on the hand, detect the color, and then just reduce the opacity of this color. Now it's not like perfectly detecting the color. you can always play with the slider down here. It's saying like if you see it starts from here, this point, from the beginning of cyan to the end of cyan. But I can push it further so it targets more blues, and I could push it further so it targets more greens. Now it's targeting more color range for the dress. I'll leave it somewhere here. Okay. Okay, now I'll just reduce the opacity of those two layers a little bit, and I'll add another hue and saturation layer and just again link it, reduce the opacity of everything together. So I can also reduce like the skin tone a little bit. Okay, now we reduce the opacity of the model and the background is like already low opacity. Now we can start coloring them all together. Okay, first thing is, where is our fog actually? This is our fog. I want to try placing the fog on top of everything. It looks bad because it's like covering the whole model, making it completely white. So I'm gonna leave it down, and on top of the model I'm gonna add a fog layer, and I'm just gonna draw it again. But now I'm just gonna do a very subtle effect, something like with 20 opacity, even maybe less. And I'll just add a little bit of fog on top of her. Yeah, something like that. I can even try to link it. Yeah, that's better. Now I'm having some fog on like the top of her. Okay, now I'm gonna stand on the layer, press Ctrl J. You know, when I press Ctrl J and close the one below, I'm doing this just in case I messed up, which what I'm gonna do now, I have another duplicate. Now I'm gonna dodge and burn. This effect, you can't like go back and change it up. I'm gonna dodge the upper parts because this is where the light is hitting. On the dodge tool and mid-tones, I'll use a little bit higher exposure. I'm just gonna dodge like the upper parts where there should be light. Okay, then I'm gonna switch to the burn tool. Make sure it's also in mid-tones. And I'm gonna burn the parts opposite of the light. Something like that. And then on the hand, I'll just make it small and just burn. This is too strong, so I'm gonna bring the opacity down and do something like that. Still too strong, bring the opacity even more down and just burn a very subtle one like that. Same on the legs. Then I'll just add some more on the dress. Yeah, okay. So now if I open this one, I'll show you. Oh no, we can't see like the before and after unless we copy all those on the one below. Okay. Okay, now we have it, which is like colored the right way. I mean like lightened and darkened. I'm now gonna add a curves adjustment layer. We need to start color grading our photo. Actually, I'll add a gradient map first. Then I'm gonna choose maybe this one. I want my shadows to be somehow greenish or cyanish, something like that. And on the highlights, I want it to be something more yellow even. Yeah, something like that. Looks horrible, but if we change the blending mode to soft light and we start like lowering the opacity, it will look better. But it's too greenish, I guess. I want it to be still more orange. So I'm gonna move this one more to the blue actually. I'm gonna move the orange slider to the left so it targets more orange, and I'm gonna change it to more like reddish, make it more color. Okay, something like that is good. Let's see before and after. Okay, now I'm gonna add another curves adjustment layer. I'm gonna go to the blue channel. I'll add a little bit of blue to the shadows by moving it up. I'll add some yellow to the highlights by moving it down. Then I'm gonna go to the red channel, add some red to the highlights by moving it to the left, some cyan by moving it to the right to the shadows. I'm doing actually the opposite, so they contrast. In the shadows, I'm doing the opposite color in the highlights. Okay, now we're done with colors. I'm gonna do a curves adjustment layer. The shadows are too dark, so I'm gonna take the darkest points, pull it up a little bit. It will make it like more grayish. Then that's too much actually. I'm gonna go down a little bit. Then I'm gonna take the midpoints. I'm gonna pull it down. This will add some contrast to the photo. Something like that. Then I can either make the highlights even brighter or just fade them. I like the brighter a lot actually. It's looking really good now. Okay, something like that. You see what did that? It made it like way better. Okay, let me take a look. Anything we can add? Okay, we can add a layer on top of everything and just take a white brush and just add some fog like that. A little bit of like fog coming from the window, but I'm gonna put that under the coloring. So it takes the same coloring effects. If I put it above them, it's completely white. I have to put it below just so it takes the same like coloring effect. Okay, now let me take a look. Okay, it's looking good. Anything we could add? Okay, we will add now our vignette. The background already has a vignette, but we will add another one. I like to do that by doing two brightness and contrast layers. One of them I'll just reduce the brightness by maybe 30. The other one I'll add plus 30 brightness. Now they cancelled out each other, but we're gonna do is on the one which brightened everything, I'm gonna press Ctrl and I. Then I'm gonna take a brush and I'm gonna paint white in the middle. This will make the middle brighter. And on the one which darkened everything, I'm gonna paint black in the middle. This will remove the darkness from the middle and leave it on the edges. Now if you look at these two, they created some sort of a circle in the middle, like with light, making like our eyes get more attracted to the object in the middle. Okay, one more thing we could do, like it works nice with a brightness and contrast. I'm just gonna add some contrast and then press Ctrl and I, and this contrast I'm gonna only apply it to the middle of the image so it like grabs attention to the middle of the image. So I'm just gonna add the contrast to the place where I want the eyes to be attracted to. So we added the contrast here. Okay, now I guess we're done. I'm gonna hold Ctrl Alt Shift then press E. This will merge everything into a new separate layer. So now I can go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Okay, then we can start like playing around with. I'm gonna reduce the highlights a little bit, it's too bright. And then the clarity, I don't know whether we can go with like dreamy look and reduce the clarity, or we can increase it and make everything like sharper. I like in this one actually increasing the clarity because I like the texture and the background and on the floor and everything. But of course, don't go with like 100%, just go with a very subtle effect, something like that. Okay, let's try increasing the vibrance. It's all about trial and error actually. If we like go with a desaturated look, I like the more saturated look, but don't like go something like that. No, that's not good. I'll just go with something in the middle. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of sharpness to the photo. I like the sharp look in this one, so I'm gonna add sharpness. And then I always do after I sharpen the photo when it's too sharp, I'm gonna hold Alt and just move the masking a little bit so that only the sharpness is targeting my details and my edges. That's too strong still. I'm gonna go with something like that. Okay, then I'm gonna go to the effects module and add a little bit of extra vignette. I'll always try to play around with the haze dehaze just to see how it's gonna look like. I'll actually dehaze it a little bit. Okay, I guess we're done now. Okay, so this is the before everything, the camera raw filter. This is after the camera raw filter. Okay, we're done with this tutorial. If you like it, make sure you subscribe and push that link, the like button. And if you guys have any requests, just make sure you add them in the comments below. I'm very active and I'm gonna reply you as soon as I see it. Thank you.